right? It's just the first reading, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll have a work session next, please.
The work session is to review and discuss potential funding towards a minimum revenue guarantee. It says to American Airlines to secure air service to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And Jim Rich, who's the president of the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, will lead the work session. And then if the council would like to move forward, we do have an action item and need to clarify that the city attorney and I visited, and if you want to move forward, we would recommend that we enter into an agreement with the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, similar to what the city did back in 2004, to where if the council commits a certain amount of money, do it with the Beaumont Chamber and let them enter into the revenue guarantee if that's what the council wants to do later.
And I assume that you'll explain what the revenue guarantee would mean, and that we don't write a check today or whatever, right, Jim? Thank you.
It's good to be with all of you, and I guess it's no secret that American Airlines is willing to resume service to our area, 3 to 4 flights a day, 50 passenger jets, effective February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. So, good day to take your sweetheart somewhere. It resumes a service that ended in 2002, and that was as a result of a labor dispute. And shortly after 9/11, when airlines needed to downsize. And the other reminder is American Airlines served this market for 17 years successfully before they pulled out. A lot of folks have had some bad experiences traveling recently, being stranded and unreliable flights, but if you look at the on-time completion record for American Airlines, one of the signature airlines, it's in the high 90 percentile in terms of being on time and completing their flights. This would be a big impact to our area in terms of employers, no longer having to reimburse employees for mileage and parking to Houston airports, and for individual travelers like myself, who has a daughter and a brother in Dallas-Fort Worth, and they're at least 5-6 times a year. There are 1,600 flights in and out of our area every day. 98% use the Houston airports. The challenge for American Airlines in coming here is to capture a portion of that driving public, both in and out, and direct them through their hub at DFW. That's their challenge as an airline. I'd like to remind you that the area is losing significant revenue when it comes to lodging, people coming here but not staying here, car rentals, and visitors to our restaurants. I can't measure that for you, but just not having air service and using our local airport, we're losing opportunities to build this economy. I brought with me, and I'm just going to refer to a couple pages. This is the case that we made to American Airlines, and there's a couple of slides in here that I was surprised about. Almost 500,000 people live within an hour of the airport, so it's a big audience. If you look at our economy, we rank 120 in the nation. Corpus is 119. Evansville, Indiana is right behind us. So we have a big economy here in Southeast Texas. If you look at wages, I know we often view our area as being poor or high unemployment, but we're 7th in the state of Texas in wages. So this is an economy that ought to be able to support air service. What does no flights mean for the airport? It does mean a significant reduction in federal funding for grants. Without air service, you don't have the FAA grants. And I don't know if you knew it, but the TSA personnel out there were scheduled to leave in August, and because of the intervention of Congressman Poe, we've delayed their departure from the airport. So American Airlines views our area as an area that's right for them to try to capture business and increase traffic at DFW. They already fly to Lake Charles. They already fly to Lafayette. This makes perfectly sense to them. A minimum revenue guarantee is something that they require. Almost all airlines are requiring them. You simply escrow an amount of money, and if ridership is where it needs to be, not to make a profit, but to break even, then that revenue guarantee is never touched. And that's what our ultimate goal is to escrow the money, but not touch the money, and be able to give it back to everybody. We're looking at a potential contract for 2 years. And then over that 2 years, the idea is to build this service, get the people to fly out of our airport, get us to fly out of our airport, and hopefully in 2 years we can go beyond the destination of DFW and have other service back at Jack Brooks Regional Airport. It's going to take a broad base of support. I know there's several in the audience from the Beaumont Conventioners and Visitor Bureau. Can you imagine making a pitch to have a state conference here in Beaumont, Texas, and when they ask the question, what kind of air service do you have, they have to say, we don't have air service. So I find it embarrassing that all the large Rotary clubs are coming to Beaumont in January or February, I don't remember the date, from every major metropolitan city in the U.S., and they can't fly here. And so as the hub city here, the large city in Jefferson County, we would like you to step out first. I know Jefferson County voted yesterday for $250,000 to get this started, and we'd like you to commit. We have a short time frame here because you really have to promote this service now. People need to book their flights now if we're going to start February 14th. And American is willing to dedicate the planes to start now. If we don't take this advantage of this now, we're looking at later in 2013 or 2014, if then. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. Sure.
I would just like to make a comment or ask you to cover a little bit. I know not all the council members were able to attend the meeting that was held last Wednesday at the airport when the representatives from American were there, and they talked quite a lot about other cities our size and some that have done these revenue guarantees, not necessarily in Texas, but in other cities, and that none of them have not been successful, and they're committing to some marketing dollars to get the word out and do things like so. If you could maybe cover some of that for the council, I think it would be beneficial.
Yeah, they gave us 7 or 8 examples, and I think Beaumont Enterprise covered a couple of them in Sunday's paper. Kansas, a city in Kansas.
Lake Charles had to do it,
Roswell,
too.
Roswell, New Mexico. Is that where it is?
Roswell.
Roswell, New Mexico. That's where the aliens are, right?
Well, they land there too. They don't need.
So anyhow, I'm sure there are some that weren't success stories. They gave us the success stories, but it really we had a great turnout of 135 or so people there, and so far the feedback has been tremendous that we do need this. It really impacts our image. We've got $20 billion worth of projects in this area with companies from Europe and the Middle East, and wouldn't it be nice if they could fly directly here and stay in our hotels and do all their business here, and that's the ultimate goal. So we're putting together public and private participation, broad-based, Orange County, Hardin County, Jefferson County, to see if we can't make this happen. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Councilmember Pate.
They did an excellent job last week with their presentation, and I think it's really important for people to understand as well that the original program that we initiated, where the money was put up, the money was paid back. That money didn't disappear. And you hear a lot of people talking about, well, that's $1 million. What happened to it? Well, it went back to the people that put the money up when
You're talking about with Delta in 2002. Yeah.
Right.
And I think one of the things we also need to remember, Continental was a Houston-based company. And as long as Continental ran the company, they were going to cover Beaumont because that's in their backyard. But when United and Continental got together, United's in Chicago. They'll take care of Midway Airport in Chicago, but they could care less about Beaumont. American had a natural tie with Beaumont, directly from Beaumont to Dallas, and
there are more flights. I think 900 flights out of DFW to all over the world, and we need to think in terms of those people.
And they also said that they were going to be extremely competitive in the cost as far as the ticket prices were concerned, because they know what they have to compete
they know of which they have to compete with Southwest around the corner, but to be able to drive out, park for free, and catch a flight and fly around the world, literally, is a real positive thing for our citizens. And to know that when we did it once before, there was no money lost. The money came back, and these people at American are really dedicated to hitting the ground running to make it work, because they don't have 3 other airlines to compete against anymore.
To get to your point, they did have 2 sales reps there, and unlike Delta that didn't put any of their own personnel on the ground, they are going to dedicate at least 2 people to visit everybody. And also offer them rewards to join up and sign up to be frequent flyers.
From a company standpoint.
And all those things that you need to do if you're going to get the loyalty of people to use the airline.
Okay. Councilmember Getz, Councilmember Wright, Councilmember Coleman.
Jim, I have a few questions. You mentioned the number 1,600 flights per day. Now, could you break that down for me a little bit? What do you mean when you say 1,600 flights per day?
You meant passengers, wasn't that what you said? Out of Southeast Texas flying out?
Yeah, those are people use 98%.
That many people go to Houston.
Okay, take a look. That's just taking a look at tickets being purchased.
Okay, 1,600 passengers per day from Southeast Texas
Right.
is what your information tracks. Okay. All right, that's one thing. Another thing, I got on the internet and I saw that if I wanted to fly Southwest from Houston to Dallas and I waited to the last minute, a round-trip ticket is probably going to cost me about $500 if I wait to the last minute, and maybe $300 if I plan in advance. Do we know anything from American as to what they project the price of tickets to be from Beaumont to Dallas?
Here's how they answered that question. Their average ticket price between Houston and Dallas is around $235, and they expect to charge a small premium of $25, $30, $40. So that's what the average price. When you wait to the very end and there's only 1 or 2 seats left, you're going to pay a higher price, as we all do on flights. But that was the way they answered that question.
Okay, that makes sense because Beaumont is actually a little further from Dallas and Houston, so I don't have a
But one of the other things they said too, which I think is important for our citizens to hear because we need them to support it, is that for the revenue guarantee, let's just say the plane holds 50 people and break even is 30. I'm not saying that's what it is, but just as an example, then that would be, we would meet our guarantee for that over an average if we were to do that. But if there were 50, they price by yield. And so therefore, if we were consistently filling up those flights, those prices are going to go down less than they would if we're just meeting the criteria, correct?
Correct.
And I appreciate that. And that brings me probably to the most important question I have. Do we have any way of tracking or estimating how many passengers a day, you said 1,600, but how many of them would actually get on a plane to fly to Dallas to connect somewhere else? It's going to get down to a matter of dollars and cents. So do we have any feel for that?
I can only, the only feel I have is that they did service this market 17 years, and money was never the issue. Times were different. Our area is different, but our area is growing, so I would only expect things to be better. The hard part is we gotten in the habit of driving to Houston. And people visiting us have gotten in the habit of flying to Houston and renting cars and driving over here. So we're going to have to work the entire area to promote this. And those numbers, you don't capture in that 1,600, especially when it respect to Dallas, is how many people are driving to Dallas.
Right.
And that brings me to the last thing I want to monopolize everybody's time. I have one thing else I want to say on this. From Beaumont to Dallas, it's 290 miles. And if an employer is paying somebody 55 cents a mile to drive, that's $160. So, when I first thought about this, I thought, dadgum, $200-something to buy a ticket, that is a lot of money. I would probably drive it. But then when I looked at in terms of what the IRS reimbursement rate is per mile, it's not that much less, and that gives me a little bit more pause and reason to think that maybe this is something that we should support. So anyway.
Plus, it's probably about 4 hours extra of your time.
Exactly.
I wanted to say, Jim, back in the day, way back, when I was working, and I was an arbitration advocate for the American Postal Workers Union, and we had to go to Dallas for the arbitration back and forth. It was such a convenience to get on the plane at 7 in the morning and be back home on the flight that left Dallas around 4 or something, and be back home at 5 o'clock. I think the flights directly from Beaumont to Dallas will serve a lot of business people who do not own private planes. Driving to Houston, then catching a plane, that's taking 4 or 5 hours. You may as well drive it. But to be able to get on a plane, go to work, come back, that's wonderful. It's not like driving to Houston. Well, you know, you can drive to Houston, you can drive to Houston now in 15 minutes. But not if you having to work in Dallas twice a week. And yes, I think that would be beautiful for our business community, if nothing else, for that.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember. Okay. Councilmember Smith.
What will be the portion for the city? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
He's asking for...
That's going to be up to you. I think the manager might have a recommendation. I don't know.
I did, if the council is willing to move forward. I did meet with Mr. Rich along with the mayor, and we did discuss this, and our recommendation would be $250,000 if the council is willing to do it, and we would break that up, $150,000 out of the general fund, out of the fund balance, and $100,000 out of the hotel occupancy tax fund balance. I can tell you what those fund balances are. Yes,
I think the important thing, you're going to set the bar, if you will, as a city. You're the first one, I think. Maybe the city of Orange might have done it this morning. But everyone else is asking, well, what's our fair share? Mm-hmm. So, you know, you set that bar, and that'll allow us to help approach the others.
This question is for Mayor and Kyle. I don't know about the, I know you said about the general fund and the hotel occupancy. I can understand the hotel occupancy, and the general fund if we have to. But
General fund balance.
General fund balance,
not
balance fund.
Right.
My question is, the gas money that we have out at the airport, is that for travel? Would that qualify?
It's a good question. We looked at that. It has to be used for transportation infrastructure, so it would not qualify.
Okay.
We did look at it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm sorry.
You had one more thing?
And I think this is really important. For those of you that have flown a lot, but because American hadn't been here for a while, but maybe you're a platinum with Continental, that they're not going to give you all the miles that you have with Continental, but they would match that level to get you, if you're a platinum or a gold or a silver or whatever you are, they would give you that level without the miles, so that when you're flying, they want you to fly American, because let's face it, if you've got, and that is I mean, for those of you that have flown when you're as old as I am, and I see some of you shaking your head, you put a bunch of miles. I have a 6-digit number with American Airlines.
So do I.
And I know the mayor does as well. And when you've flown that much, to know that you're not losing whatever that investment that basically you had with all the other airlines to get to that level, that's a big plus.
Well, I just say I have to go to Dallas on the 25th of this month for work, and I would be flying if I could. Yes.
You know, I like what I'm hearing, and of course we're putting our best foot forward to try to advocate in favor of this right now. And as a lawyer, we're always taught to look at the other side of the coin as well. You mentioned that there were some success stories, and I read the articles in the Enterprise. Have there been some revenue guarantees that haven't worked out where the money was lost? Do you know that? Has American even
I do
addressed
not
it?
know that. I just assume that there probably are other examples.
He
but,
didn't act
I'm
like
not
there were
aware
a
of
lot,
any.
though.
Yeah,
When he answered that question, he said the majority were success stories.
Well, you have to.
And I'm looking at it, I really don't want any of this money to be touched.
Yeah. And they don't either.
And so, it really is going to be up to us to in a lot of ways, to promote this service.
And America doesn't want it either.
No.
They really want to make money.
Any other questions of Mr. Rich?
One.
Okay, sure.
Mayor, Jim, if the revenue guarantee is drawn down, would it be on a pro rata basis? So let's say the guarantee was $1.5 million and they needed $500,000. Would they reimburse the remainder of the funds on a
Most likely, that's the way we would do it. Now, I think you did raise that issue. We created a legal entity the last time called the Southeast Texas Coalition for Air Service, LLC. And Community Bank and its trust department, then Lois Ann Stanton, was the escrow agent. So we went back, we're going to have to reactivate that. So we're going to use the same legal entity. Walt Snyder, the Snyder Law Firm, is recreating the legal entity. And Lois Ann Stanton, now at Compass Bank, has agreed to be the escrow agent. So we're putting in some of the same pieces to do this as we did before.
So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We
Yeah,
can
and this
just-
LLC will have a representative from each of the county, and myself and the Port Arthur Chamber exec will be sort of the managing partners. And I assure you, we will look at American Airlines accounting of all this very closely the whole time.
Yeah, because he did say, just briefly, that it's on a monthly basis and they look at it day by day, and then it's not like if you did really bad on one day, you didn't have a lot of passengers, but another day you filled it. You don't lose like that. It's an average of that, just to break even, not for American to make money, but their break-even point. And also, I might add, if you didn't, I don't think you did, to let our citizens know that I believe that they're looking to 3 to 4 flights a day, round trip, and they're all jets.
50 passenger jets.
Where last time American was here, they were prop planes. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I like, again, what I'm hearing. I'm wondering if we're moving just a little bit fast, if we're going to take a vote on this today. I'm not hearing anybody really speak out against this, but, it might behoove us to see something in writing in the form of an interlocal agreement, or if we're going to do that with the Chamber of Commerce, or maybe...
We don't need... I guess what we said we would do with American Airlines is we would let them know where we stand the week of September 17th. We do not have to have the cash or the money actually to the first of the year. So it's basically giving them the green light to start locking in these planes. So, if that's what you want to do in terms of delaying this, that's fine. But it certainly would help us in our other fundraising efforts with other cities to know where the largest city in Jefferson County stands on this, if it's possible.
Well, and that's why it's posted the way it is, so council could move forward today if they so desire, or to put it off. But Jim did visit with us about the urgency, because if we do go past that time and we can't make that commitment, then we will be going well into 2013 and not beginning in February with the service. Correct, Jim?
Correct.
Question. So we're talking about a contract period of 2 years on the guarantee?
Correct.
Beginning upon their service?
Correct.
And if they don't touch it, we get it back in 2 years.
In 2004, we got it back, right?
Yes. Yeah, there was something out there in the media at one point that we lost that money, and that is not the truth. We got all of that money. We did not.
Correct.
That did not happen. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone that does not want to move forward with this today? Okay. Then you want to go ahead and make the recommendation or read the caption that you need to read, and we'll
Yes,
see if
ma'am.
there's a motion on the floor.
The administration recommends authorization to enter into a contract with the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $250,000 related to a minimum revenue guarantee to American Airlines to secure air service to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport.
Thank you. You've heard the item. We've discussed it. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
There's a motion to approve the recommendation of $250,000. There is a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimous. Go get some more money, Jim. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay. That concludes our general business items today.